Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Good evening, Hari Om, and very warm welcome to all of you who have joined now and to others who will join one by one. First and foremost, my apologies for not being available for almost 5 weeks now. Things out of my control. And as we entered the last chapter, I did not want a break. That's why I could have probably managed the second session in between. But I didn't want to do that. So here I am now, and hopefully in the next 3, 4, 5, I don't know how long it will take, we will try to wind up. Wind up what? Wind up what we started. This journey in understanding our life through Bhagavad Gita. So does it mean that we are winding up? Kumar mentioned to me that this is only a beginning. Yeah, it is a beginning for all of us, because from what we understand in this entire journey, how is it that it is going to make a difference to our life hereafter? Because what has happened in our life thus far is something which probably some of it we could have had a role in changing it, but then that is immaterial, because today where we are is what we are. And from here, what we move forward, at least if we can make a difference to our life with what we have thus far imbibed in our journey, maybe it's going to make a difference to our life. So that, if you look at it in that perspective, chapter 18, I had said this earlier also when we were dealing with chapter 2, I had mentioned this. Chapter 18 is more or less like a summary of the entire Gita journey as we completed, whereas chapter 2 was a summary of the entire Gita as we began. So chapter 2 was more or less like, giving us snippets of what is the journey all about. And as we completed up to chapter 17, a lot of insight has come into it, a lot of knowledge we have acquired, a lot of ways of thinking we have learned. And as we have learned that, how is it that we have to apply it in our life now? That's what probably chapter 18, if I were to call it as a summary, that's what it deals with. So it's more to deal with how I should work, at least now, hereafter, how I should work. That is more or less what I can say is the. Oh, there was some problem, is it? You said resolved. Voice is very faint. Is it only me? Is it resolved? Okay, I'm happy. Uh, so, this is the journey that we have, this is what we are trying to understand when we deal with chapter 18. So, to a great extent, there will be a repetition of what we have done thus far. And we understand repetition is essential. For example, if you want to tell children something, in the first instance, when we tell them, they will not understand. Second, third, fourth, and then finally we say, I told you why you didn't do it. That's how we probably imbibe children. So, repetition is essential whenever we want to reinforce a thought on another person. So, what we discussed earlier needs to be completely understood by us within our own mental equipment. So that when we say repetition, repetition is a tool for better understanding. Repetition is a tool for our better understanding. I know as Tambrams, there used to be a story when we were far younger, we used to hear this very often. People who came from Palakkad and settled down here in Bombay in the early years of their career, they were very fond of using Malayalam because they came from Palakkad. They were fond of using Tamil because it was their mother tongue, and English because that was their acquired skill in the language in which they were working here in Bombay. So I used to hear stories that in the afternoons during lunch break, they will all meet under a tree or some place, common place, and they will meet, and then they will be talking. So whenever anybody has to raise a point and then say something, they will say it in three languages. For example, if I had said, I told you so, that I told you so will come in three languages. And the three languages is, I told you so, three times. Why? The same sentence you say it in three languages because you are affirming what is it that you want to say. So it's more or less like an affirmation that we come to hear. So what is it that we have heard thus far? We have to give up. We have to drop our anxiety. We have to drop our fear. We have to give up our attachment. We have learnt all these things. So what is it that we mean by giving up? Dropping something, or why is it that we should sacrifice? The word is sacrifice, isn't it? So you will say, come on, yeah, I am enjoying whatever it is that I am doing, and you have been talking about, renouncing something or the other, not looking for results, etc. in my actions. It is absurd. Obviously, this is a way in which we would have thought right in the beginning, and probably even now we will think. Now, this unfoldment which is happening within us is a gradual process. You cannot measure this unfoldment like probably how you measure your weight every week. I am doing workout. Last week I was 77.3 kilos. This week I have dropped zero point 0.2 kilos. It is 77.1 kilos. And then this week I had a feast. And then suddenly I have become 77.4 kilos. You cannot measure like that. The entire unfoldment is a gradual process. So the process of change which is happening is internal. And did I change myself? Is it possible that I can analyze whether I actually did change or not? So for example, it's like, faking. I can as well say that, I have changed. But did I really change? Is it something that I can understand within myself? You go to a clinic and suddenly somebody comes wearing a white coat and a stethoscope and all, and he starts checking you, behaving like a doctor. Breathe properly. Okay, here is the thermometer. I want to check your temperature, blah, 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 blah. Suddenly the doctor comes in, and I realized that this fellow who was examining me was a mad patient who was there in the waiting room. And suddenly he started coming and behaving like a doctor. So I feel cheated. So this impersonating as a realized person that I have changed. If I impersonate that I have changed, it is not a proof of my wisdom. Actually, I must change within myself. So to do my work is my only responsibility. Whatever is my work, that is my only responsibility. Rewards of whatever is the action that I do is entirely a work of various complementary forces within me and outside of me, which will make it happen. Now, I shouldn't dissipate my energy thinking or worrying about the results, because when I am working, at the time when I am working, I must be only focused on my work rather than bothering about how the results are going to come out. For example, if I were to say that I am looking after, it is impersonating, if I were to look at that as an example. Now, if I am looking after my old parents, and when I am actually looking after them, in my hope that they will leave a will, and in which they will leave all their assets to me. So I am a very obedient son. I look after my parents because I want them to leave their property to me once they die. So service to my parents is not my motive. My motive is the anxiety by that service of the fruits which will come when they die, and then they will leave their will in my name. So the mind, which is my mind, knows the motive, even if my parents don't, because I will not show it off. So that impersonating which I am doing, that impersonating is within myself. So outsiders may perceive me as a very great son, looking after the parents, etc. But my heart knows that I am doing it with a profit motive. So this is the background with which I want to start chapter 18. So I will play verse 1 to 10 of chapter 18, and we will take it forward from there.
अष्टादशोऽध्यायः मोक्षसंन्यासयोगः। अर्जुन उवाच संन्यासस्य महाबाहो तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुम् त्यागस्य च हृषीकेश पृथक् केशिनिषूदन। श्रीभगवानुवाच काम्यानां कर्मणां न्यासं सन्न्यासं कवयो विदुः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं प्राहुस्त्यागं विचक्षणाः। त्याज्यं दोषवदित्येके कर्म प्राहुर्मनीषिणः। यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यमिति चापरे निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र त्यागे भरतसत्तमा। त्यागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र त्रिविधः सम्प्रकीर्तितः। यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तत्। यज्ञोदानं तपश्चैव पावनानि मनीषिणाम् एतान्यपि तु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम् नियतस्य तु सन्न्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहात्तस्य परित्यागस्तामसः परिकीर्तितः दुःखमित्येव यत्कर्म कायक्लेशभयात् त्यजेत् सकृत्वा राजसं त्यागं नैव त्यागफलं लभेत् कार्यमित्येव यत्कर्म नियतं क्रियतेऽर्जुन सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलं चैव सत्यागः सात्विको मतः न द्वेष्ट्य कुशलं कर्म कुशलेनानुषज्यते त्यागी सत्त्वसमाविष्टो मेधावी छिन्न संशयः.
So today there are not going to be any pictures. Today it is going to be me talking. That's all. We will see about pictures in our next one. So Gita is a scientific text. We said we will try to understand our life through the lens of Bhagavad Gita. So Gita is a scientific text. So when we come to chapter 18, as I said, if it is a summary, at the end of the entire Gita, what happens? Arjuna picks up the bow and arrow and then he starts the Mahabharata war. The conch is blown and then they start the war. So before I start an action which is going to transform me, transform the lives of others around me, make a difference to the world in the form of goodness that I can probably bring about, if that is the way I look at it, this science is very essential for us to grow. So it gives insights into our internal apparatus and the tools to examine our own self. So if we can logically understand our thought process at each stage in life, different stages, different actions, different thoughts, are we in a position to logically understand our thought process? If we are able to do that, we will lead our lives in happiness and bliss. And once we are able to do that, we will permeate that quality in others who connect with us. That's the entire purpose of this text. So here I take a break. Yesterday was our great singer Mukesh ji's birthday. So today's songs are all going to be Mukesh ji's songs. This is a song from the film Sannyasi, which I think I must have shared in one of my earlier talks also. करम किए जा फल की इच्छा मत कर ऐ इंसान, जैसे कर्म करेगा वैसे फल देगा भगवान. ये है गीता का ज्ञान, ये है गीता का ज्ञान, ये है गीता का ज्ञान, ये है गीता का ज्ञान. So this is the entire crux of the summary of chapter 18. How I must work. Just keep doing my duty. How? That's what we are discussing. So it is important for us to know how, and how do we discern ourselves, within ourselves, that if we are really wise, we are working wisely and we are willing to surrender the fruits of our actions at His feet. His feet meaning that supreme principle which is making everything happen for us and for everybody around us. So in that perspective, it is important for us to understand what is the meaning of those two words which is called sannyasa and tyaga. What is it that I grow above, where I become wise, and I sacrifice? What is it that is? So can I aspire for that greatness in my own life, in the way I act, in the way I work? That is what we are trying to find out. Now, desire prompted activity is natural for everyone. If I did not have a desire that I need to communicate with you my thoughts on this subject, this entire webinar wouldn't have happened thus far, and as it is going on also. So the desire is definitely a motivational force for our action. It is natural for everyone. Only when I am in deep sleep, totally deep sleep, there are no desires, because I am not conscious of anything. But without desire, activity is not possible. And we are asked to pursue desireless activity. Now, where are desires coming from? Desires are coming from our individuality or our personality, whatever is our own inner equipment, the mind intellect equipment. Now, conquering our personality, conquering our individuality is the key, isn't it? Because that is how we can progress. So there is one attitude in which we can, deal with it. One example I can give: whatever experience comes to us, whatever something comes, something very phenomenal, something wonderful comes. Acha, aisa kya? Something very bad comes, something very unusual, something which you don't want. Acha, aisa kya? No, that attitude, acha, is it like that? Meaning what? You are not perturbed by the great success, by the great failure, nor are you extraordinarily ecstatic about the great success. That's the attitude that is required. Now, I am now conducting some classes, workshop, and then some classes, helping people who want to sing, helping them in honing up their skills. So at the end of some class or something, somebody will come up and say, "Oh, sir, it is because of you that we are able to build up our ability. They praise me for whatever I have done." I, within myself, thank him and tell them thank you, because we are instruments in the entire chain of exchange of knowledge, exchange of information, exchange of ability. We are only in that process. In that process, the person who's making it happen is the Lord Himself. So just thank Him. And there are also some cases where there are complaints against me. Right? Somebody will say that no, there are complaints against you. What are those complaints? So the moment you say what are those complaints, suddenly you are in a position to bring down the energy of that negativity and understand if there is genuineness in that complaint, address it. If there is no genuineness in that complaint, discard it. So that attitude needs to come, and then that is how it will help in our own inner growth. So any experience is welcome, because I have no control about what will come. I can only manage how I respond to what will come. So giving up in that respect is when I drop the anxiety to get specific results, because what is in my control is doing that which is required to be done. If an action requires to be done, that is what is in my control. I will do that. Results of that action are driven obviously by my effort, plus forces that are governed by nature and others around me. I may do my action to the best of my ability. The person receiving that action must also have that same wavelength of receiving for it to actually permeate as a benefit for him. If that person is carrying a prejudice against me, saying that yeah, आदमी ऐसे drama करता है, it will never reach him. So then obviously he will not be very enthusiastic about the results. So if my effort was wonderful, the result will be commensurate, because the forces of nature also work in tandem with the quality and sincerity of my own effort. So in the way I put in my effort, if I am able to communicate to the other mind that my sincerity is there, the quality is the best that I can probably do, obviously it is going to change the way the other person is receiving, and it will change the way the result is also perceived. So result will have to be wonderful in that case. Now for the purification of our mind and our inner equipment, it is essential for us to work with the spirit of cooperation. What I am doing is for the benefit of myself and a lot of others. So we work in tandem with each other, where every action is meant only for the good, my good obviously, and others around us. So we should willingly be ready to share all our goodness with others, without the selfishness or expectation of appreciation that they should, they should come, good boy, good boy, good boy. So, and we must develop the attitude of surrendering the fruits of our own efforts into the common hotspot of collective benefit, rather than fulfilling our selfish desire only. So when the action itself is performed, there is a collective benefit. If I am sharing something with you, in the sharing I am learning, and you are receiving some sharing that I am giving, in your perspectives that you share with me, I will learn, you will learn, collectively the hotspot will be a benefit for all of us together. That's the attitude with which we should work. Now we hear of people who sit or stand in penance, Aisa, sitting like this. We hear of such people. Now giving up every other action, which means when they are in penance, they have given up every other action, except their action in penance, because their penance, action in penance they need to do. So they have to be determined in the action in penance itself. But if in their mind they entertain a desire, a material desire. For example, I am sitting in prayer, totally focused on the Lord, and at the end of the prayer I said, that the next contract which is supposed to come to me must come to me. It is about 20 crores, and that I will get a good 20% margin. Once I get it, I will share 2 lakhs with you. Okay, deal, done deal. Prayer, very nice. At the end of the prayer, a material desire is coming in. Of course, I will get that desire, but that still remains in the field of materiality. So desires, the quality of those desires must be of a higher quality that permeates happiness to us and to others around us by our own action. That is the way we must learn to work. So I now break off into another song from the same movie, which is a Lata Mangeshkar Mukesh duet from Sannyasi. She starts off saying, "Chal Sannyasi mandir mein, तेरा चिमटा मेरी चूड़ियां दोनों साथ बजाएंगे, साथ साथ खनकाएंगे." मुकेश रिप्लाइज, "क्यों हम जाए मंदिर में, पाप है तेरे अंदर में, लेकर माला कंठ दुशाला राम नाम गुन गाएंगे." So that is the way we need to work. When we are working, our focus must be on whatever is the work that we are doing, which is for the collective benefit, which includes us, obviously, which includes us. Now, some people misunderstand that giving up attachment to action. We are talking about giving up attachment to action. Some people misunderstand that giving up attachment to action means not even performing any action. So, which includes that which is their obligatory duty also. If by action I am going to get attached to that action, I might as well not perform any action. क्योंकि अगर मैं काम करता हूं, काम के साथ में मुझे चाहत आ जाती है, मोह लग जाता है, तो उसके साथ में मेरा एक बंधन बन जाता है. I don't want that बंधन, I don't want that मोह, I don't want that चाहत. So what? I will not do anything. मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है. I am action free. That's not the way you can be. Maintaining a family, obligatory duty. Duties in our workspace, obligatory duty. Social duties as a member of the society, obligatory duties. In the misconception that I should only pursue growth in spirituality and not get involved in the material world, that is faking spiritualism. You cannot forsake your duties. Your duties you must do. It is the attitude which you have at the time of performing the duties that matters. So do the best that you can in your situation in life. Don't compare with what others are doing. Somebody is doing better. Okay. I cannot start saying that I must become like him. I cannot. Because there is something which I am doing in the domain of my ability, in the domain of my understanding, in the domain of my knowledge, in the domain of whatever is my circumstances, I am doing. Somebody else is doing something different. Could be better than me. So what? I don't need to become, copy that fellow. I have to do that which I am doing sincerely, honestly, with absolute, focus on what I'm working. And at that time when I'm working, give up this, attitude of attachment. So be true to yourself within the station of your life, with whatever you have. That is the way your growth will be pure and satisfying. You cannot copy somebody else. No need to run a race with others. Our competition should not be with others. If we must run, then run a race with ourselves. That I may be better off today than what I was yesterday. I may be better off tomorrow than what I am today. That should be the race we are running. Not that I am running a race with you or you are running a race with me. That is meaningless. So what happens? An example. What happens if someone in your extended family, not your immediate family, extended family, an uncle, an aunt, somebody like that, or maybe a distant relative, somebody like that. Now, who doesn't have anyone? They don't have anybody. And they need your help. Will you stand up to that need as best as you can? Because they need your help. So will you stand up to that need as best as you can? Or will you sacrifice that because they are not my immediate family? Why should I bother? I'll sacrifice that. Oh, मेरा obligatory duty नहीं है. Why should I do it? If you are blessed with an ability, then you must stand up for those who need help. Not only extended family, anybody who needs help. If you are blessed with an ability, you must stand up for helping them. Now, some of us take up an extra duty. Some of us, in this context, some of us take up an extra duty. Like for example, tending to some old person, like a geriatric need of some extended family member. Or sometimes even a pet, a dog, a cat, or something like that, a pet. Then when we find that what we are doing is too taxing for us, or it is too tiring, because from a time perspective, my physical energy perspective, or my financial perspective, I am probably it's too taxing on me. I am unable to manage it. We sacrifice that. We say, nahi karna. Because we say that it is too much for me to do. This is escapism from the responsibility that we undertook. If we have taken up a responsibility, it is our duty to see that responsibility through to the last T. That is what we have to do. No way we can just justify this as this handing over, because मेरे को extended family है क्या है, मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ, नहीं कर सकता हूँ, छोड़ दिया, pet है नहीं कर सकता हूँ, छोड़ दिया. We cannot justify that, because we tried. How we normally justify that is saying that I tried it and I left. That's not the way. You undertook it, you must do it to your last T, to the extent it is possible. Impossibility is something totally different. Giving up is something totally different. If it is impossible for you, for example, you're tending to somebody, a geriatric patient, and then you're trying to do something, hospitalization bill, let us say, is 10 lakhs. You don't have the money. You cannot borrow and do that. So you have to now reach out to people who may probably want to contribute to that person's care. That is okay. If that is not there, you can't do anything. But then that does not mean that you simply abandon. That abandoning is not the right thing. So when a moral insistence comes from our mind, from our own mind, a moral insistence comes from your conscience within. We are all working with our conscience, isn't it? So when such a moral insistence, such a call of conscience, as you can say, if such a thing is coming about, that an obligatory duty must be performed. When does that come? We take it up, or maybe it is there in front of us and we have to take it up. It comes as a message to us in our conscience that this is something I need to do. I cannot escape from this. No matter the level of inconvenience that I have. Inconvenience, mind you, not impossibility. Inconvenience, no matter how much I have, I will perform it. And while I am doing that, while I am performing that duty, I don't have an internal dialogue going on within myself, saying that, I am so great. I am doing this great duty. मैं तो कर रहा हूं ना, मैं कर रहा हूं ना, कोई नहीं करता, मैं कर रहा हूं ना. That association that I am doing, that is what you need to drop. Because you were there, your conscience gave you a call that you need to do it, it is necessary for you to do it, I can do it, even if I am inconvenienced, I will do it. That having done, the association that I am doing, that is what you need to drop. Because it is there. I'm doing it. That is the best way to perform all our obligatory duties. So what is it? You don't forget your duties which are meant to be done. You don't abandon. And the song that comes to my mind is मैं ना भूलूंगा, मैं ना भूलूंगी इन रस्मों को, इन कसमों को, इन रिश्ते नातों को, मैं ना भूलूंगा, मैं ना भूलूंगी. That attitude is there. That if there is a promise that I have to make to myself that this duty needs to be performed, I will do it without fail, without forgetting. I will ensure that that is performed. Now, when this kind of an attitude is developed within myself, even when we are doing a disagreeable action, attitude is built up, okay? Now, there is a disagreeable action. Disagreeable action is what? In the same example, if I were to take, you are looking after a geriatric patient, bedridden, bed sores all over, you can't do anything. Now, you have to clean the diapers of that person. Or let's say you are working in an ashram or a public institution. Everybody is serving, everybody is doing service of the other. And your turn comes that you have to wash the toilet or you have to clean the vessels. When we do that, we are doing it because it is necessary for us to do. We are in the position where that job has to be done. There is no dislike. That why am I doing this? That attitude will spoil the entire the purity of the thought when you undertook that action. The purity of thought which you had will get dissipated if you start having the dislike. Obviously, when you're cleaning the diapers of a geriatric patient, it is going to be bad odor and all that. Wear a mask, wear a kerchief, whatever it is required. Ensure that whatever is required to be done without an association that I'm doing it, without a dislike that I have to do this. That is the attitude in which you need to perform. You have to wash vessels. Oh, मेरे there are 3 other people together. We are washing vessels. हो गया, डाल दिया, भूल जाओ, आगे निकल पड़ो. That attitude is what you need to have. Likewise, when there is some attractive work to be done, like for example, you are going to a puja and you are given the task of decorating the idol of the Lord for worship. Oh, what a maja, what a maja! Like powdering and dressing up a small child. Oh, what a maja, what a maja! We do it because we are there and it has to be done. Correct? So there is no special preference. You know, एक काम करते हैं, टॉयलेट तू साफ कर ले, मैं ये पूजा के लिए मूर्ति में कर लेता हूँ. बच्चे को मैं साफ कर लेता हूँ, तू दादाजी का डायपर तू चेंज कर ले. Why? Because I like this job, I don't like that job, and I don't want to do. There is no such special preference in the kind of work that I will do. Every action that I will do is a to-do neutral task. It is there, I am there, it has to be done, I will do it, neutral task. So there is no question of special preference for something, nor a special dislike for anything. With this, I will now play verse 11 to 19, which is what we will be dealing with in chapter 18 today, and we will take up the rest of it in the next session. So I'll just play 11 to 19. Chitapa Mukesh Zindabad, right?
न हि देहभृता शक्यं त्यक्तुं कर्मण्यशेषतः यस्तु कर्मफलत्यागी सत्यागीत्यभिधीयते अनिष्टमिष्टं मिश्रं च त्रिविधं कर्मणः फलम् भवत्यत्यागिनां प्रेत्य न तु सन्न्यासिनां क्वचित् पञ्चैतानि महाबाहो कारणानि निबोध मे सांख्ये कृतान्ते प्रोक्तानि सिद्धये सर्वकर्मणाम् अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता करणं च पृथग्विधम् विविधाश्च पृथक् चेष्टा दैवं चैवात्र पञ्चमम् शरीरवाङ्मनोभिर्यत् कर्म प्रारभते नरः न्याय्यं वा विपरीतं वा पञ्चैते तस्य हेतवः तत्रैवं सति कर्तारमात्मानं केवलं तु यः पश्यत्यकृतबुद्धित्वं न स पश्यति दुर्मतिः यस्य नाहङ्कृतो भावो बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते हत्वापि स इमान् लोकान् न हन्ति न निबध्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं परिज्ञाता त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना करणं कर्म कर्तेति त्रिविधः कर्म सङ्ग्रहः ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च त्रिधैव गुणभेदतः प्रोच्यते गुणसङ्ख्याने यथा वच्छृणुतान्यपि.
So long as we have a body, working has to happen. So what do we mean by work? You are listening, I am talking, that is also work. I am moving my hand here on the mouse, that is also work. You probably are trying to listen very carefully to what I am saying, or maybe you are walking around at the same time listening, that is also work. Everything is work. So long as we are in this body, with this mind and with this intellect, we cannot remain without working for even one moment. Not one moment we cannot stay without working. Even when we are sleeping, our system is working. Unconscious to us, our system is working. So even when we are quietly sitting, nothing doing, you're not listening anything, you're not talking anything, quietly you're sitting, you're thinking something. Because mind cannot remain without thoughts, you're thinking something. That is also work. Even when we are on leave from our office, casual leave, privilege leave, home leave, just one leave, I don't want to work, that leave, any kind of work, we are at home. We are working with our idleness. क्या कर रहा है? कुछ नहीं कर रहा है, आइडल, कुछ नहीं. But what happens? We are watching a video, we are working, we are getting angry with people at home because we want something to eat, we want something to be kept at a particular place. That is also work. So working is imperative when we are alive. Every action of ours is work until we are dead. That is not our work. That is somebody else's work, not our work. So when we say we have to sacrifice, what do we sacrifice? Is it the work itself or is it the fruits of work? When we do not have this spirit of relinquishment to the fruits of our work, we do not have this attitude or the spirit of relinquishment to the fruits of our work, the legacy of our work comes after us. For example, when I am working, if I am thinking about how you will like what I am talking or not, if I am waiting for you to comment, oh sir, it was so wonderful, oh Suresh, it was so nice. If I am waiting for that fruit to come, the legacy of this talk will come behind me till you tell me that. So even after that work is over, the legacy will come after me. So in this world, and even after physically we are gone from here, if the attitude at the time of work is about the fruits that I will get out of that work, that legacy of that work will keep on traveling behind us. So sacrifice is an adjustment within us, not something outside in our actions. When this attitude is built up, when the results actually do come about, no matter what the results are, we are neutral at the moment the results come in. Results come in, अच्छा ऐसा हुआ, अच्छा ऐसा हुआ. At the point when the results come in, our attitude is like that. We only adjust the action for future correction if it is required. There is no ecstasy, there is no depression. No ecstasy at some extraordinary result, no depression at some unextraordinary result which is not what we wanted, etc. etc. आ गया. So do we mean to say that no, we have to remain stone like? No. The idea is that if you and your mind and intellect gets carried away with that thinking, then what is happening is you are just simply allowing that to come behind you. Hey, you know what? 10 years ago I did this. That fellow never told me anything about it. I gave him a gift. He never told me thanks. He is not even displayed that gift at his house. I gave him a shirt. He is not wearing that also. He never wore it and sent me a picture. Legacy of that work keeps on traveling with us. Do the work, forget it. That attitude is what we need to get. Now, sometimes it is possible that we get very great results for some really wonderful actions we perform. Sometimes we get horrible results from really absolutely bakwas action that we did. And sometimes, which is normally the case for all of us, the combination of our good and bad actions results in mixed results. Our results are also mixed. Thoda acha hai, khata meeta, that kind of an action which comes. Now some good, some bad. Ye bhi hai, wo bhi hai. 50-50, that kind of a thing. Now true wisdom lies in understanding the nexus between the quality of our action and the quality of the result, but unaffected by the result itself. We understand, oh, if only I had done this, this phrase in the song a little better, it would have come better. My effort would have been better. My voice throw would have been better. My melody would have been better. My audience presence would have been better. That is why the song would have become better. Now, this is unaffected by the result. Even if the audience is clapping, wah, 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 or even if somebody from the audience says, "Sorry, kya bakwas gaya," I am unaffected. It is correction within myself. So just keep on working, because one day you will all go away. The way in which you work, the spirit in which you work, that is what remains. The song that comes to my mind is, एक दिन बिक जाएगा माटी के मोल, जग में रह जाएंगे प्यारे तेरे बोल, दूजे के होठों को देकर अपने गीत, कोई निशानी छोड़ फिर दुनिया से डोल, एक दिन बिक जाएगा माटी के मोल, जग में रह जाएंगे प्यारे तेरे बोल, La 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 la. So that attitude is what is required when we are working. That is what we need to cultivate within ourselves. Now, there are 5 factors required in any action. Without that, action is not possible. First, the body. And this is all for us, okay? The body. Because this is the performing apparatus for all the actions. Then there is a doer or the actor, the person who is doing the action, which is my egocentric individuality. I am doing that action. 3. The instruments of perception or the organs of perception, eyes, ears, nose, etc. They perceive what is coming to me. So those instruments of perception. Then the instruments of action, my limbs, my tongue, they are the instruments of action. So they are doing something or the other. And the preceding deity for those actions. What is that? I cannot see without the preceding deity of vision which is behind my ears. I cannot hear without the preceding deity of auditory deity available with me. I cannot smell without the preceding deity of the sense of smell which is coming to me. I cannot talk, I cannot use my tongue without the preceding deity of my ability to talk coming through my tongue. So all this is the preceding consciousness of those organs of perception, those organs of action. If that is not illumining those instruments of perception or action, nothing is possible. So every action that we do is made possible because of these 5 factors. Without any one of those, action is not possible. So they are a team which empowers all our actions or our work. Whether they are good, they are bad, they are noble or criminal, whatever I may do. I may be the best guy in the world, I may be the most horrendous fellow on earth. Whatever I do, without these factors coming together, nothing is possible. So it is left to me how I want to act. Now, foolish are those people who claim that there are some people, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, ये सब भगवान का काम है, भगवान ने किया, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया. That it's okay to say like that, but please understand what we are discussing. That if it is in the attitude of surrender, well and good. But if it is in the attitude of saying that, अरे ये तो विधि का खेल है यार, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, सब भगवान का खेल है, ऊपर वाले की देन है, ऊपर वाले की कृपा है, ऊपर वाले ने किया. That attitude, if it is what can I say, an escapist attitude, that is not the right thing. Foolish are those who claim that it is that pure self, Bhagavan, pure self, isn't it? In them, the divinity which is within them, which is acting. The divinity which is within all of us, in you, in me, the spark of life in all of us, which is the same everywhere, that empowers all our action. But it is these 5 factors which enable the action. So choosing to act in a specific way is our choice. We cannot escape by saying that it is governed by the divinity within us. It is our choice. The divinity does not play a role in our choices. That comes from our personality level. The cultivation of the attitude is in our personality level, by our own choices. Whatever are our choices, the divinity within us empowers us to act. If I decide that tomorrow I have to steal from somebody, I will steal. If I decide that tomorrow I have to go and bang my car against another person's car because I have road rage, because I'm angry, my choice. If I decide that I have to share whatever is my understanding is with you through this webinar, my choice. Your choice that you decide that you need to attend this on Saturday evenings from 5 to 6 rather than going and doing something else. Your choice. So it is my choice, your choice that makes us do what we are doing. The divinity in us is only the empowerer of all those things that we are doing. This is very, very important for us to know, because only when we know this, we will be in a position to, what can I say, fine tune the tools of our own equipment. The tools of our equipment is basically our mind and intellect and our organs of action, our organs of perception. How is it that we want to tune it? When the experience comes, how is it that we are in a position to receive it? How is it that we are in a position to exchange those our actions into the world outside? When we develop this purity in our own personality level, our choices are based on common good. on the basis of I need to do this rather than saying I want to do this. So at the desire level, you want it, otherwise the desire would not come. Why did the desire come? Because I need to do it. I need to share what is it that I have. Because why? I am only a receiver in a conduit which is happening universally. Universally, there is a knowledge flow which is happening. That knowledge flow is coming to me in whatever form it has come to me, and there is an articulation ability which I am blessed with by the Lord. Now, that articulation ability I am sharing. I am doing it? No. I want to do it because I need to do it. That attitude changes the entire way of interaction. That is what happens. So, no matter whatever we do, we are calm because our actions are based on our situation at that moment to do what is needed to be done and our ability for what we can do. So, one, my ability to do what I can do, and the second, at that situation in life, at that situation, at that moment, that is something which is needed to be done. With these two combinations, when we act, suddenly the entire action gains in its purity, and the way it is permeated is something totally different. Now, there are three, what can I say, impulses to action. One is knowledge, that is the knowledge of what is to be done, the knower of what is the action, and the thing to be known with that knowledge. So these three are the impulses. They are the ones which result in the experiencer of the action. Who is the experiencer in you? The experience in the entire dialogue, there is an experience which is happening. And you are the experienced from what you are hearing. I am the experienced from what I am sharing. So the experience are both of us. So in the entire process, there is something which is happening as a communication. It is two-way, it is not one way, even though you are muted. It is two-way, it is not one way. And in that entire, these are the constituents, the impulses to action. The five factors which I narrated earlier and the impulses which are there, they are the collective bundle which induces the entire action and the work cycle itself. So once we understand this, then we know that whatever we approach, however we approach, there is purity in the way we think, there is purity in the way we share, there is purity in whatever we imbibe also. So depending on the quality of our own imprints meaning, if you remember, I said vasanas, but instead of using the word vasanas, the tendencies that I have developed over the last years in the current life, plus whatever I have carried over as a bundle from my previous birth, whatever it is that I have carried, depending on the quality of our own imprints, whether they are pure, meaning whether they are sattvic in nature, whether they are agitated in the way of action, rajasic in nature, whether they are dull, inert, like tamasic in nature, whether they are good, they are bad or evil, those imprints, our experiences change based on those imprints. Whatever experiences we have, they change based on those imprints because our minds are always oscillating between these three moods. If you remember when we did the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, when we did those three qualities in each of us, we understood this, that we are never in absolute purity, we are never in absolute agitation, we are never in absolute dullness. It is a combination which is keeping on changing within us at all times. So now, depending on the imprints that we gather in this combination, from time to time, our moods change, and depending on the way our moods are, our impulses and our five factors of action, they start working differently. Now, because of these three moods, even though we like to act positively sometimes, we get angry or agitated. I really want to be positive, but at this moment, you don't know, I'm very angry with somebody or something, very angry. Just leave me alone. I want to do positive, but at the moment, what am I displaying? Total anger, negativity, or I may become destructive. So our actions depend entirely on the moods of our mind at any given time. So we are not smart. We are not very smart in understanding the way we need to really work, the way we need to really act. Even though the world of various, teachings, the world of various people who come to our, knowledge, all of them are giving us some sort of inputs or the other. We sometimes don't understand. So we will discuss these in our next session. I end in this thought only. I end with a song, which is again, of course, as I said, a Mukesh song. सब कुछ सीखा हमने ना सीखी होशियारी सच है दुनिया वालों के हम है अनाड़ी दुनिया ने कितना समझाया कौन है अपना कौन पराया फिर भी दिल की छोट छिपा कर हमने आपका दिल बहलाया खुद ही मर मिटने की ये जिद है हमारी सच है दुनिया वालों के हम है अनाड़ी. So I end my talk for today with this, and I request you to come up with any points, any suggestions, any thoughts that come to your mind. Uh, Chintapa, your question is, you said presiding deity or presiding divinity. The presiding deity, see, the presiding deity is like, for example, my ability to see is the presiding deity for my eyes. My ability to hear is the presiding deity for my ears. My ability to smell is the presiding deity for my nose. So the presiding deity is because of the divinity which is empowering them, but you just filter it down to one more level and then say, oh, this is the presiding deity for each action. That's it. That's what I meant.
Okay.
So anybody wants to say anything, you're most welcome. You want to share a thought, you want to give a comment or anything, most welcome. So like how we had two breaks, one after the 8th chapter, one after the 15th chapter. Around the end of the 18th chapter, when I'm about to conclude, that day, I will again be leaving the field open, and I would like you to come back with thoughts about 18 or even anything before that. So you can mull over whatever we are discussing now and come back with your thoughts, which we can discuss on the last session. I will say, I don't know whether it will be the 4th or 5th. I really am not sure. As we move ahead, we will take a call. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you and wish you all a wonderful weekend as always. Have a nice time. We will meet again next week. Bye bye.